this is Jim Skelly, and this is week number 5 in the Global Conversation. This week we have some actually very positive things to look at, one of which is the film called Home. I think this will make many people feel very good about where they live, which is planet Earth, because it is a stunningly beautiful film. If you get a chance, please look at this. It'll lift your spirits. I know that much of the material that we deal with in this class is not exactly optimistic, shall we say. And this is a really optimistic film. But it also gives you a sense of how important it is that we preserve this beautiful habitat that we have. And I think Jan Arthus Bertrand, who did this film, really did gave us a great gift. So do take a look at it. There are different versions of it in different languages. Those of you who are studying Spanish or in a Spanish-speaking environment, please use that. There's also a French version and an English version available. One of the other things, there are a couple of other things that are not so uplifting to look at. One is about atmospheric aerosols, the health environment generally, and what's happening to the air that we breathe. And another one on global warming and atmospheric brown clouds. There's also we've taken some initiatives this week that I hope you'll pay close attention to. One is the ecological footprint calculator, and you'll find that there's a forum where you can measure your ecological footprint, essentially to find out how many planets you might need to live on if you continue to live, if everybody continued to live the way you do. Now, one of the things you can do is compare your ecological footprint in different places. So if you're away studying at a university, you could measure your footprint both at the university or in comparison to what it's like at home. But if you're studying abroad, you might also add then a third comparison. The footprint calculator that we use is from the World Wildlife Foundation. There are many different ones, some of them very detailed, and they give you some variety in their calculations. But this is a reasonably everyday measure, and it will give you some sense anyhow of how many planets you need to live on. And I think it's a bit shocking to many people to find out that, the average American needs 4 or 5 planets to live on, and you can get a sense for what you might do to cut down on your footprint as well. But it's a good way to reflect on your own behavior. Now, another thing that we're doing this week, Samantha Martin, who's one of the teaching assistants in the class, has put together a very interesting project for all of the learning circles. It's a way to get you to think about the future, but it's also a way for you to get to know each other a bit as well. And this is the Business as Usual image/photo project. As Samantha points out, it's meant to explore what could happen if we continue living our lives with a, quote, business as usual mentality. As she says, that people have very different ideas of what could, might, and should happen. Unless we imagine the possibilities, we may be tempted to believe that we can live however we want without any consequences to others, ourselves, and our planet. This comes back again to this question of the commons and the tragedy of the commons if we don't take these kinds of perspectives into account. So take a look at that. I think all of the learning circles are up and running now. I also think, I have to say to you, that I have been very impressed with the quality of the conversation so far in the learning circles and the various forums. Really first-rate work. So please keep that up. One of the things that think it's Emma Taylor who from Derry at the University of Ulster who brought up this article that was in The Guardian last week about a couple of reports that are coming out of the United Nations and other institutions. I will send you an email now with a posting about this podcast, about the ecological footprint, about the business as usual project, but also this particular article, which is gives an early report on a United Nations report that will be released this summer. But what it shows is that the world's 3,000 biggest companies would lose about 1/3 of their profits if they were actually forced to pay for the use, loss, and damage to the environment which their companies cause. You can find some of this information in the Guardian article, but you might then take a further look at the organization based in the United States that actually organized this. The organization is called True Cost, and it's a website that, among other things, does green rankings of various large companies, measuring essentially the environmental performance of these companies. And they've done this as a joint project with Newsweek magazine. We need these kinds of things because people really do need to think about what the actual costs are of their behavior and the behavior of the companies that tend to dominate our economic life. One of the other things that the Guardian article refers to is what's called the Principles for Responsible Investment. It's an investor initiative that's done in partnership with the United Nations Environmental Program and what's called the UN Global Compact, which has been a very positive effort to get companies to be corporately responsible in their activities. And one of the places where we're most concerned that they be responsible is with regard to the environment. So I'm going to send you links to these various things. I do hope you're also able to get to the midterm. It's due a week from Tuesday. I'd like you to take a look also. There's a very, very interesting, very short video that I've also posted along with the ecological footprint calculator in this week. And that is a YouTube video about a book called Slow Death by Rubber Duck. Slow Death by Rubber Duck is about a couple of young Canadian guys, once again the Canadians out front, and what they've done is to look at what, it follows on much of what we saw with 10 Americans, the video 10 Americans in the first week. But these two authors did a fantastic job and took some risk in actually being conscious about the things that they were taking in to their bodies by using everyday items in a normal way. And so they've measured all this. They've produced this book called Slow Death by Rubber Duck. And I think you'll find it fascinating and a bit chilling. They are also, I should note, optimistic about the fact that you can detox pretty quickly if you're just conscious about the products that you're using. So I think you're all going to want to watch that. That's Slow Death by Rubber Duck. Have a good week. I'll be in Hungary later this week, and I'll look forward to talking to you next Sunday.